Have you ever told yourself, I just want to be happy? But if you look closely, almost every choice you make is actually about avoiding discomfort, awkwardness, fear, or loneliness. Have you ever noticed that right after reaching a goal you once thought would make you finally happy, your mind very quickly goes back to feeling empty, anxious, or restless, as if it is already searching for the next escape route? Welcome back to this channel. Thank you for coming here again. Taking time not just to be entertained but to sit with questions that your heart has probably been whispering for a long time. Here we explore awakening, wisdom, karma, compassion, practice, and destiny. Not as cold concepts but as living forces hidden under every desire and every pain. Today we are going to face something many people spend their whole lives avoiding: the truth about suffering. There is a powerful reminder from teachers like Kenpo Tsutril Mwadro that sounds very harsh to the ordinary ear in the cycle of samsara. There is no real happiness. What we usually call happiness is very often just a temporary relief from pain, followed by another round of pain. At first, this sounds depressing. You might think, so you are telling me everything is meaningless? Then what is the point of living? But if you stay with this teaching a little longer, you will realize it is not meant to destroy your hope. It is meant to destroy your illusions, so that real hope, real freedom, and real happiness can finally appear. In this long sharing, we will walk together through several layers. We will look at how modern life quietly trains you to chase happiness that is actually just a bandage over deeper wounds. We will tell stories of people whose lives looked good from the outside, but felt strangely empty on the inside, and how facing pain instead of running from it changed their destiny. We will explore different phases of suffering: obvious pain, the pain hidden inside change, and the subtle discomfort under even our pleasant experiences. We will talk about why teachers keep telling us to turn towards suffering instead of constantly escaping it, and we will discover how, when you dare to meet your pain with awareness and compassion, something extraordinary happens. Your suffering becomes a doorway to awakening, wisdom, and a completely different kind of happiness. If part of you is tired of running, if part of you suspects that your happiness project is actually an endless avoidance project, then this conversation is especially for you. Imagine a person named Daniel. Daniel has what many would call a good life. He has a decent job in the city, a stable income, a partner who cares about him, friends to hang out with on weekends. He is not a millionaire, but he can afford trips, gadgets, good food. If you scroll through his social media, you would see photos at cafes, beaches, parties, smiling faces, and quotes about living your best life. But when the lights are off at night and the screen is dark, something else appears. He lies in bed and suddenly feels a strange emptiness pressing on his chest. Nothing is wrong in particular, yet his heart feels hollow, like a room with no furniture. He thinks, maybe I just need a break. So he books a trip. On the trip, he feels excited at first. New views, new food, new photos. But a few days in, the old familiar feeling is back. The scenery changed, but the emptiness traveled with him. He returns, works harder, sets a new goal: of promotion, a new car, a nicer apartment. Every time he reaches one of these goals, there is a brief rush of pleasure, but it fades quickly, like foam on a wave. He tells himself, I am just not there yet. When I earn a bit more, when I buy a house, when I have children, when I retire, then I will truly be happy. Does this sound familiar? Now imagine a different person, named Lily. Lily is in a relationship that looks sweet from the outside. There are date photos, anniversaries, romantic posts. Her friends say, you are so lucky. But deep down, she is terrified. Terrified that if she is too honest, her partner will leave. Terrified that if she does not look good enough, they will lose interest. Terrified that if they ever walk away, her life will collapse. So she calls this love, but she lives in constant tension, constantly checking messages, checking tones, checking small changes in expression. When she is with her partner, she can relax for a moment. When they leave or go offline, the anxiety comes back. If someone asked her what she wants, she would say, "I just want to be happy and live." But if we look closely, what she is actually doing is running from the pain of feeling unworthy, running from the fear of abandonment that has lived in her since childhood. Her happiness project is built on the hope that another person will cover those wounds so she never has to look at them. Now imagine a third person, George, who is a spiritual seeker. He reads books about enlightenment, watches videos about meditation, goes to retreats. He dreams of reaching a state where he will never feel anxious or sad again. He thinks, if I can just have a powerful awakening experience, if I can just feel that huge light and bliss that people talk about, then my suffering will be over. So he chases spiritual highs. When a meditation session feels calm and joyful, he feels he is getting closer. When a session feels restless or painful, he feels like a failure. He does not realize that he is still doing the same thing as before, just wearing spiritual clothes, chasing pleasant states to escape unpleasant ones. These three people look very different, but at the deepest level, they are doing the same thing. They say they want happiness, but in reality, they are running away from pain. They believe, if I can just pile enough pleasant experiences on top of my discomfort, maybe it will disappear. Teachers like Kenpo Tsutril Modro point out that as long as this is our strategy, our destiny will be more or less the same short bursts of pleasure, long stretches of subtle dissatisfaction, and a deep fear that at any moment, everything could collapse. Why? Because we have misunderstood what happiness is and what suffering is. Let us look more closely at suffering first. Usually, when we hear the word suffering, we think only of obvious pain, illness, grief, poverty, war, heartbreak, and yes, those are very real and sharp forms of suffering. In Buddhist teachings, this is sometimes called the suffering of suffering, the raw pain that no one wants. But there are two other forms of suffering that are more hidden: the suffering of change and the suffering of pervasive conditioning. The suffering of change is the discomfort hidden inside everything that is pleasant, simply because it cannot last. The first bite of your favorite food is wonderful. The second is nice. By the 10th, you might feel heavy. By the 30th, you'll feel sick. The first weeks of a new romance feel like the world just got brighter. But slowly, the intensity fades. Little annoyances appear. The same person who once made your heart race with joy now makes your heart race with anger. The first months in a new job feel exciting. New tasks, new people, new salary. But after a while, stress, boredom, and office politics show up. Everything in life is changing all the time. When we try to make any pleasant state permanent, we suffer from the very fact that it is slipping through our fingers. The suffering of pervasive conditioning is even subtler. It is the low hum of unease, restlessness, and vulnerability that fills our life simply because we are trapped in a body-mind that is ruled by ignorance, craving, and aversion. It is that feeling of something is missing, even when nothing in particular is wrong. It is that quick spark of jealousy when someone else gets what you want. It is that deep insecurity that makes you compare yourself again and again. It is that constant need to distract yourself with screens, snacks, noise, so you do not have to sit with yourself. This kind of suffering is like a background vibration. You get so used to it that you think it is normal, until one day you use it quietly and realize how noisy your inner world actually is. When teachers say some sorrow is suffering, they are not saying there is no joy anywhere. They are saying that as long as our mind is caught in ignorance and craving, even our joys are fragile and laced with fear. Think of someone who has been walking with a stone in their shoe for years. They have gotten used to it. They might even say, "My walk is fine," But if you ask them to pay attention, they will realize that every step contains a little pain. We are all walking with stones in our shoes. Our usual happiness is often just a way of shifting the stone from one place to another so that the pain is less obvious for a while. The teaching does not say this to depress you. It says this so that you will finally consider taking the stone out, instead of buying better socks and pretending that solves the problem. Now, why do we resist looking at suffering directly? One reason is fear. We believe that if we really look at our pain, it will swallow us. If I really face my loneliness, I will break. If I really face my regret, I will be crushed. If I really face my addiction, I will see how terrible I am. So we cover it with work, entertainment, romance, spirituality, even kindness to others. Anything but sitting alone with our own heart. Another reason is misunderstanding. We think that to be positive, to be a good spiritual person, we should always focus on light, love, gratitude, and not talk too much about suffering. But pretending that suffering is not there is like painting over mold on a wall. It might look clean for a while, but the mold is still growing underneath. Besides, as long as you refuse to look at your own suffering, you cannot really understand the suffering of others. Your compassion will be shallow, your patience short, your wisdom thin. This is why Buddhist teachings dare to start with what many people avoid: the truth of suffering. The first noble truth is not life is horrible. Give up. It is life as it is experienced through ignorance is deeply unsatisfying. And here is exactly how. Once you admit this, something paradoxical happens. Your fear actually begins to decrease. Because now, instead of some vague monster in the dark, you have a clearer picture. You can start working intelligently with your experience. Let us return to our three characters and see what happens when they stop running and start turning toward their pain. First, Daniel, the man with the good life and the empty heart. One evening, instead of grabbing his phone when the emptiness rises, he remembers a talk he once heard by a teacher who said, "The feeling of emptiness is not your enemy. It is a messenger. It is telling you that your current way of living cannot satisfy the deepest part of you." So he makes a small vow tonight. For once, I will not run. I will just sit and feel. He sits on the edge of his bed, turns off the light, and closes his eyes. At first, the emptiness feels almost like physical discomfort. A hollow ache in the chest, a sinking in the stomach. Thoughts rush and this is stupid. I should just watch something. I am tired. What is the point? He stays. He notices that beneath the emptiness is a kind of sadness, a sense that he has been living on the surface of life, collecting moments rather than truly inhabiting them. He remembers his childhood curiosity, his teenage dreams. He realizes he has been chasing an image of success handed to him by the world, without asking what truly matters to him. Tears come. For the first time, he lets himself feel how lonely he sometimes is, even surrounded by people. How disconnected he is from his own heart. It hurts, but strangely, there is also a sense of relief. He is finally being honest with himself. That night does not magically solve his emptiness, but it marks a turning point. Instead of asking, "How can I get rid of this feeling?" he begins to ask, "What is this feeling trying to show me?" He starts reading and listening. Not just about how to be more productive or more successful, but about awakening, wisdom, karma, compassion. He begins a simple meditation practice, sitting for 10 minutes a day, watching his mind instead of constantly entertaining it. Slowly, he sees how his constant chasing has been a form of suffering, and in that seeing, the chasing starts to lose some of its force. Now Lily, who is terrified of losing her relationship, after one especially tense week of overthinking, she comes across a teaching that says, most of us do not love. We cling. We do not seek to meet another being. We seek to plug a hole inside ourselves. That is why our love hurts so much. These words pierce her. She realizes that her fear of losing her partner is not only about them. It is about a much older wound, a little girl who once felt ignored, who decided long ago, I am only safe if someone pays attention to me. For years, she has been running from that child. She decides to try something different. One evening, instead of checking her partner's messages for the 10th time, she lies down, puts a hand over her heart, and imagines that little girl sitting in front of her. She looks at the child's face, in her mind the sadness, the neediness, the hope. She does not say, stop being so clingy. Instead, she says softly, I see you. I know you are afraid. I know you think that without someone's love, you will disappear. But I am here with you now. I will not abandon you, even if others do. As she says this, she cries, not because someone left her today, but because she realizes she has been leaving herself for years. Again, nothing is fixed overnight. She still feels fear sometimes. She still worries about her partner. But now, instead of throwing that fear entirely onto the relationship, she also takes responsibility for her own healing. She might say to Buddha, please bless this relationship, but also, please give me the courage to face my own fear of abandonment. I am willing to learn all of that is less about escaping pain and more about sharing life. Her karma around relationships begins to change, not because she found a magical partner, but because she is no longer making her partner carry the weight of all her unresolved pain. Now George, the spiritual seeker chasing special experiences. After yet another retreat where he did not feel the bliss he expected, he feels frustrated and discouraged. He goes to speak with a teacher. He says, maybe I am not suited for practice. I sit and all I see is pain, anger, fatigue. When will I finally feel the joy of deep meditation? The teacher looks at him with kind eyes and says, and what is so bad about seeing your pain, anger, and fatigue? For years they have been ruling you from the shadows. Now, in meditation, they step into the light. That is progress, not failure. The teacher continues, if you only accept your practice when it gives you pleasant states, you are still running from suffering. True practice is the willingness to sit with whatever arises, without clinging and without rejection. If you can breathe with your pain without pushing it away, you are already walking the path of awakening. This conversation turns something inside George. He goes back to his cushion, not to chase joy, but to meet truth. When discomfort arises, he says inwardly, hello, anger. Hello, sadness. Hello, numbness. I will not run from you today. I will breathe with you. This is not easy. Some days he feels overwhelmed. Some days he feels nothing. But slowly, he notices that the things he was most afraid of, his own dark thoughts, his own wounds, are not as solid as he believed. They come and go. They rise and fall. In this process, a different kind of happiness begins to appear. Not the sharp excitement of a new achievement. Not the soft pleasure of a new romance. Not the high of a mystical experience. But a quieter joy, the joy of being honest with himself. The joy of feeling less chased by his own mind. The joy of being able to care about others' suffering because he has faced his own. This is the happiness that teachings point to when they say that real peace does not depend on pushing away pain, but on understanding it. So what does all of this mean for your destiny? Karma is not a mysterious punishment system. It is the simple principle that your habits of thought, speech, and action shape your future experience. If your main habit is to escape pain, your destiny will be one of constant running. New job, same anxiety. New partner, same fear. New house, same emptiness. New spiritual practice, same grasping. The scenery changes. The story does not. If you begin, even a little, to turn toward your suffering with awareness and compassion, your destiny starts to change from the inside. Instead of avoiding uncomfortable conversations, you have them and heal old wounds. Instead of numbing out with entertainment, you sit with your sadness and let it guide you to what truly matters. Instead of blaming fate for your pain, you look for your own patterns and take responsibility for what you can change. Every time you do this, you are planting different seeds. Seeds of courage instead of fear. Seeds of wisdom instead of denial. Seeds of compassion instead of judgment. Over months and years, these seeds grow into a very different landscape. You may still experience outer difficulties, aging, sickness, loss. They are part of human life, but you will not be the same person meeting them. You will have more space inside. You will know that pain can be held, not only escaped. You will have tasted a kind of happiness that can coexist with sorrow, a happiness born from clarity and love. That is true freedom. It is not the freedom to never suffer. It is the freedom to not be destroyed by suffering, to use suffering as fuel for awakening. Now, you might be asking, where do I even begin? My pain feels huge. My escapes are so automatic. How can I possibly change? Do not underestimate small steps. You do not need to turn your whole life upside down today. You can start with one tiny act of not running. When you feel the urge to distract yourself from a heavy feeling, try pausing for just 3 breaths. Notice where in your body the discomfort lies. Chest, throat, belly. Place a hand there. Say inwardly, I know you are here. I will not abandon you for at least 3 breaths. Then breathe. You will not die. You may cry. You may shake. You may feel restless. But you will also see that the feeling is not an endless ocean. It is a wave. The more waves you dare to meet like this, the less afraid you will be of the sea. If you have a spiritual or religious background, you can bring your practice into this. When pain rises, instead of only saying, please make this go away, you can also say, please give me wisdom to see what this pain is teaching me. Please give me compassion so that my suffering can make me more sensitive to others' suffering, not more bitter. If you chant the name of a Buddha or a Bodhisattva, you can imagine their compassion not only rescuing you from outer danger, but sitting with you in your inner darkness, like a friend holding a candle. Please do not just remove this pain. Please help me use it. This is how suffering, karma, compassion, practice, and destiny all weave together. Suffering shows you where you are still trapped. Karma explains why certain patterns keep repeating. Compassion allows you to hold your pain without hating yourself or others. Practice gives you tools to stay present. Destiny shifts when you respond differently, again and again. As we come toward the end of this long reflection, I want to speak directly to the part of you that feels most tired. Maybe you are tired of pretending you are fine when you are not. Maybe you are tired of chasing the next happy thing, only to fall into the same hole again. Maybe you are tired of feeling guilty for suffering when your life looks okay from the outside. Please know this: your pain does not make you weak. Your willingness to meet your pain makes you incredibly brave. You are not negative for acknowledging suffering. You are honest, and honesty is the soil from which real awakening grows. So tonight, or tomorrow, when you catch yourself saying, I just want to be happy, gently ask yourself, what pain am I actually trying to avoid right now? You do not have to fix it immediately. Just ask. Just listen. Then, if you care, take one small step toward that pain instead of away from it. Maybe it is writing down what you truly feel. Maybe it is messaging a friend and telling the truth instead of saying, I am fine. Maybe it is sitting for 5 minutes in silence, breathing with your discomfort. Each small step is like turning your face toward the sun. The shadows do not disappear instantly, but they start to fall behind you instead of in front of you. If something in this sharing has resonated with you, maybe a story felt uncomfortably familiar, maybe one sentence made you feel understood, I would be very grateful to hear from you. You can share in the comments a time when you realized you were chasing happiness mainly to avoid pain, and what happened when you finally turned around. You can share a moment when facing your suffering honestly, instead of escaping, actually brought you more peace. You can share what small step you want to take from today to meet your own pain with more awareness and compassion. Your story might be the exact light someone else needs when they are sitting alone with their suffering, thinking they are the only one. If you would like to keep exploring together themes of awakening, wisdom, karma, compassion, practice, and the many ways our relationship to suffering silently shapes our destiny, you are warmly invited to subscribe to this channel. If this video has given you clarity, comfort, or simply good company in a hard moment, you can support this space by liking the video, leaving a comment, sharing it with a friend who might be quietly struggling, or joining as a member so we can continue creating long, in-depth content for your journey. Thank you for staying with me until the end, for daring to look at the parts of life most people spend their whole lives running from. May you slowly discover that suffering is not just a curse, but also a teacher. May you learn to meet your pain not with panic, but with wisdom and compassion. And may that courage to stop running open the door to a happiness that does not depend on escape, but is rooted in a truly awakened heart.
Life gets noisy. Work, stress, expectations. Sometimes we lose touch with the quiet part of ourselves. Bracelet isn't just an accessory. It's a small reminder that you deserve peace. You deserve moments of stillness. You deserve to hold on to your inner balance. If one of these bracelets speaks to your heart, you'll find the purchase link in the description below. And even more auctions available on our channel's shop page. Pick home the one that feels right.